Bear Independent Brief, 21 November 25. And make sure you stay through the brief because the national intel provided by y'all, boots on the ground stuff, will be immediately following the brief in this video. America's industrial giants are quietly executing one of the largest supply chain overhauls in modern history. Tesla and General Motors have issued directives to their suppliers: get out of China and do it fast. Tesla wants its U.S. production completely free of Chinese components within 1 to 2 years, while GM has set a hard deadline of 2027 for suppliers to, quote, completely dissolve their China sourcing connections, end quote. This is what we call an indicator, boys and girls. If you're the investing type, I would look at non-Chinese, nearshore, or domestic mineral producers, mining companies. It's also super interesting that, what would you call them? These superstorms that have no historical precedent keep landing in places that have incredible amounts of lithium and cobalt and bauxite and etc. Hurricane Helene, Hurricane Melissa, yada, yada, yada. Just, tinfoil hat stuff. It's pretty clear that this goes beyond cost-cutting or efficiency tweaks because this involves unraveling supply relationships that have been, quote, 20 or 30 years in the making, according to Vehicle Suppliers Association head Colin Shaw. The scope is massive, too, covering everything from raw materials to complex electronics, lighting assemblies to rare earth magnets, which means we should expect to see what? Increased conflict in Russia, Latin America, South America, because those are all contested spaces. China has people there, Russia has people there, the Americans have people there, as do a whole bunch of other nations. But there's also minerals there, and as everything becomes more technologically advanced, the need for these minerals, see, when we say minerals, we think like salt, magnesium, potassium, stuff you put in water. No, or the precursors to modern society all come out of the ground. Tesla alone worked with roughly 400 Chinese suppliers at its Shanghai plant, over 60 of which provided components for global production. Yes, the supply chain vulnerabilities stemming from the lockdowns were a huge wake-up call, but tariffs imposed during U.S.-China trade war have made budgeting nearly impossible when, quote, you don't know if a critical part will cost 25% more next month, end quote. More recent geopolitical friction means that tensions between China and the Netherlands have threatened automotive chip supplies, while China imposed export restrictions on rare earths and magnets, materials essential for electric vehicle motors and power steering systems, and everything else. Also, the Department of War is streamlining its vendor systems and, in large part, going to be producing a lot of its own material through additive manufacturing, near frontline additive manufacturing, aka 3D printing. For those of y'all who are currently into additive manufacturing, a lot of those materials come from overseas as well, including China. And there are people in those groups that are near to me who have told me that they have been told, so 3 times removed, rument, but they have been told from their suppliers, essentially get what you need now, because within the next 6 to 12 months, this supply is going to dry up to the United States. So that's an interesting timeline as well. The challenge is that China doesn't just supply parts. In many cases, it holds near monopolies on critical materials. The U.S. remains, quote, highly dependent on China for rare earth metals, end quote. While recent trade agreements loosened some restrictions, there are, quote, few long-term answers for the auto industry, which needs rare earth magnets for motors, power steering, and other critical components, end quote. They're also incredibly important in telemetry systems for things like missiles and bombs and airplanes, and programmable logic controllers, and computer chips, and cell phones, and communications, and. Essentially, if it has a battery in it. China's control over elements like yttrium became painfully clear when export restrictions caused prices to surge 1,475% from late 2024 to November 25. You know, yttrium, that stuff. Everybody loves a little bit of yttrium. I like to sprinkle it on top of some apple pie with a scoop of vanilla ice cream. It's delicious. Oh, and major tech companies also started doing this a month ago. Microsoft wants 80% of components for its Surface products and data centers manufactured outside of China by 2026, which is approximately 5 weeks away. Also, Microsoft is not the company that it used to be, so keep an eye on them because there's a lot of internal and external problems with Microsoft. Amazon Web Services is evaluating alternatives for printed circuit boards used in AI data centers, which should all probably just be bombed anyway, but that's my personal opinion, while Google is pushing suppliers to ramp up server production in Thailand. As one report noted, quote, the scope of changing is quite wide and includes components and assembly for future products, end quote. Transitioning production means, quote, new capital investment, logistics rerouting, and the risk of part shortage or launch delays, end quote. Heading into 2026, the broader supply chain remains volatile. Currently, Red Sea shipping disruptions continue to force vessels on lengthy detours around Africa, adding 10 to 14 days to Asia-Europe routes, while Panama Canal drought restrictions persist, cutting daily ship passages from 38 to as low as 22 to 24 ships per day. Experts expect disruption to continue for at least the next 1 to 2 years, end quote. At least the next 1 to 2 years. Interesting. It's also interesting. Now, before we get into the national intel at bearindependent.com is where you send this. I do some of my best thinking in the bathroom. I'm sure many of y'all are the same. And I had an interesting thought this morning. We're hearing a lot about 9/11 2.0, right? They're gonna, the big they, are they gonna make it happen or allow it to happen, Bear? Just like 9/11 1.0. Well, it doesn't take a whole lot of digging into the original 9/11, or currently the only 9/11, to realize, we might have been fighting the wrong people, and the people that we were fighting have a really interesting background. Let's just put it that way. Definitely don't Google dancing Israelis. That'd be super interesting. So here we are on the brink of another 9/11 2.0. Okay. Well, what did we get out of the first one? Patriot Act, great restrictions upon the American populace, loss of individual freedoms, etc., etc. Rahm Emanuel, never let a crisis go to waste, right? Okay. So the thought that occurred to me was, we used to have this thing, what was it called? Vigilante justice, right? Back in the early days of America, the frontier days, we'd just form up a posse and go get the bad guy. Problem solved. How interesting would it be, hypothetically, if, say, some grassroots operators did intelligence things and located these individual bad guys and formed up a posse, collected a bounty for them, turned them over to not one of the alphabet soup agencies, but say, Pete Hegseth. Hey man, we found this guy. I will take duffel bag full of cash now. Thanks so much. And then just removed the impetus for 9/11 2.0 so that the attacks don't happen, and B, or they happen on a much smaller scale, and B, therefore, the continued eroding of American citizenry's individual liberties doesn't have the casus belli anymore. There is no black swan event, if you will. Yeah, that was just an interesting thought. I mean, you got all these, vets that need something to do, and all these intel guys that are just bored sitting around, playing video games. And it's like, what if, hear me out. Yeah. Form a posse. I'm just throwing that one out there. All right, national intel. My wife works for a regional healthcare company managing rehab therapy departments for several states. This requires her to work directly with specialized therapy equipment vendors. Recently, within the last 6 months, I've noticed she's having a lot of frustration when ordering certain machines or scheduling repairs for them. What used to be a routine phone call or email has turned into a day-long back-and-forth nightmare that usually ends with the rep robbing from one order to fulfill another. The problem seems to be part procurement. The reps continuously reference the fact that they have inoperable units in the warehouse but don't have the parts to repair them yet. From what I can tell, some of the worst parts are things like processors and boards, but some are mechanical, like specialized compressors or condensers, evaporators, etc. It's almost to the point that my wife's company is having to rethink entire programs offered to its residents. Some of these programs included advanced care for individuals who have wounds that won't heal on their own. This situation seems to be following similar trends that you've been speaking about in other areas of the supply chain. I'm unsure if the part source, but if I had to guess, the electronics most likely come from Asia. For what it's worth, this is anecdotal evidence, but it seems to line up. Thanks for what you do. Appreciate you. Next. Oof. We were visiting a friend over the summer. He has some connections in the MIC and government. He said that people were told to get your supplies together for a year or more and go enjoy your family for the next 18 months. I placed that in the back of my brain since I am sure he had more connections than what he had let on to. I could go on more, but that would need to be talked about in a private place. I do have to add, I do trust what he said as what he heard. He and his family has and had connections to the intel community. I am more paranoid than most and less trusting of people. But as I said that, I believe he was told that, okay, guys, listen, I love you. Thank you. Please, syntax. It's hard enough for me to make the monkey brain work in the morning. So when the words don't line up the way they need to line up, the brain goes, 404 error, file not found, does not compute, Microsoft Excel circular reference. Next, I have a friend who took a job with a company. Oh my gosh. Hold on, we're being invaded. I'm getting swatted right now.
Daddy.
What?
Daddy.
What? Are you the cops?
No.
Okay, good answer. I'm talking to people.
Huh?
I'm talking to people.
Huh?
You want to say hi? What? No, we're not going to play guitar right now. Later.
Okay.
No, we're not going to play right now.
Dad,
Hold on. I'm in the middle of recording. Hold on. Family stuff. Those are headphones. Here, say hi. Okay. I have a friend who took a job with a company which supplies things like Mylar for electronic applications and satellites. He said his work is facing mandatory overtime through the holiday season. I try not to pry, but I couldn't help but ask if they supply for defense applications. He understandably isn't told much about their customers, but he thinks their materials do go to aerospace and rocketry applications. Go get mommy. Go get her. Go get her. Bye. I'll see you in 1 minute, okay? Okay. You close the door?
Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe I'm reaching, but it looks like a data point on the 15-month radar to me. Thanks for everything you do, and double thanks for your biblical wisdom. You'll hear from me again if I learn anything noteworthy from my friends who work railroads. By the way, again, just email me, intel@bearindependent.com, if you're already providing intelligence and you want to update us. That's greatly appreciated. Or if you're seeing things, hearing things with your own eyes and your own ears that you want to pass along to the Bear Nation, that's a great help. And even if it's something you think that's not terribly important, it may become a data point. So please don't hesitate. And this is not only for our American viewership, but also for our international viewership. Because here in the States, much like everywhere else, the only air quote news that we receive is the news that we're spoon-fed by the big media outlets. So anybody everywhere, hey, if you're seeing something noteworthy, please just shoot us an email. Next, I had to take my lunch break earlier today as our plant shut down due to a power outage. On said break, I dialed up Barrow-Vision on the YouTubes, and I had to smile at the irony of today's episode title. Shit is getting real. Also, the place I work does lots of military-industrial complex parts. Let's just say business is booming. Next, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, twin island nations to the north of Venezuela. U.S. military operations have begun. Our troops have been taken off of vacation and all leave suspended and stationed in their respective defense forces bases across the country. Intel provided is very minimal, with the TLDR, too long didn't read, from our local officers being, we're called back to base to provide support to U.S. forces of necessary in the events of any refugees if any escalation occurs. U.S. military arrived here 3 days ago and are currently undergoing exercises with the Trinidadian Defense Force in rural and urban areas late at night and early before sunrise. Choppers have been circling my town for the last 2 hours as I live 20 minutes from an army base. While our politicians claim we will not be involved if any conflict takes place, we are at the mercy of the decisions made by President Trump. Tensions have been high since military personnel were ordered to base. Police leave was revoked, leading to the majority of the public rushing to groceries and Muslim associations in countries sending out prep lists in the event of any escalation. Our leaders are saying,
My dad had a baby.
yeah, you got a baby?
I got it.
Yeah, you got it. So nice. I'll be right there, okay? I'll be right there.
Let's let Daddy work, okay?
Hey guys, it's real life over here. It's not hyper-produced clickbait BS. It's real life. Thank you, Ma. Good morning. Our leaders are saying that the U.S. is here to conduct joint training exercises, but with some of our geography and infrastructure resembling Venezuela, it's very likely that escalation is on the horizon. I heard rumors that some members of the military were told to go home and kiss your wife, hug your family before you come to base. Next, power company conducting region-wide exercise simulating attacks on substations in neighborhoods just southeast and southwest of Tulsa Metro. Premise is a foreign nation is upset over being excluded from international champion sports ball game. The exercise involves governor activating National Guard to secure generation and distribution sites against physical threats made by agents of foreign countries, planning for minimum manning requirements in generation plants, leadership analyzing current black start capabilities and procedures across several generation sites in the region, and load shedding brownout scenarios across the region as well. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Everything Everywhere All at Once. I feel like I've heard this somewhere before. Next, relatively new to the Bear Nation, drawn by your teaching of the Word. Retired ortho doc now, more of a general practitioner and infectious disease guy for my circle. Not sure if you've addressed drugs to stockpile, drugs being like medicines, not like fentanyl. Although, you might research battlefield fentanyl for casualty care, and don't play with this stuff. I'll just leave it at that. My info from pharmaceutical reps indicates foundation meds will be harder and harder to come by due to limited profitability. My recommendations: I have vermectin and fenbendazole, generally broad spectrum and immune system enhancers, as well as antiparasitic, amoxicillin and augmentin, lower respiratory pneumonia, azithromycin, broad spectrum upper respiratory, ciprofloxacin, gram-neg, gut problems, diarrhea, contaminated wounds, prednisone, methylprednisone, steroid inhalers, useful general inflammation, asthma, and environmental inhalation injuries, tetracycline, replacement for penicillin allergies, and erythromycin, primary lower respiratory pneumonia, EpiPens for anaphylaxis and can be used in cardiac emergencies, which is an off-label use. Most of these can now be obtained online without prescription, multiple sources including Canada and India. Depending on pill type, bioavailabilities may vary, but definitely better than nothing. Disclaimer, I'm not making individual recommendations or prescriptions. Recommend become familiar with these medications and making your own informed decisions. Doc, I concur. Side note, these big black totes with the yellow lids, you can put all kinds of useful things in them. I'll just leave that at that. That's the show for today. Intel at BearIndependent.com. Thank you to the Father for allowing us to wake up today. Thank you for the grace of the blood of Messiah. Without it, we'd be screwed. Thank you to the patrons, the economic engine of the Bear Nation. As always, there's a link in the description. We had an excellent Pelt Patreon exclusive live stream Thursday last night. Patreon's $10 a month, overwhelming amounts of value. Yeah, it's not an I love me, you should love me too page. The whole goal is to provide value and interact with y'all there. So check it out. And of course, nephews.reticle.corn, the old Refuge Medical. I've told the team I need a new kit to hold up on camera, and they keep saying, you work here too, just grab one, and then I keep forgetting. So here's this one, yet again. Why do I care? You see right here on this shirt, this is about a 4-year-old instructor shirt. And these 11 hash marks here represent the 11 lives that have been saved to date. We're up to 161. Praise the Most High. The whole goal of all of this is preservation of life. The goal boiled down is to get you back home again, whatever your job might be, whatever you do outside of your home. Whether you're literally a Navy SEAL or a MARSOC guy or SF or an Air Force PJ or a cop, sheriff's deputy or EMS or fire or civilian, whatever it might be, we've had saves in all of these categories because basic human physiology is the same. And immediately, we need to keep as much blood inside the body as possible, and we need to make sure the patient can breathe. And that's what our kits are optimized for. That's the March algorithm. That's what we do, is get you home again. We are not the cheapest. We'll never be the cheapest because we don't compete on price. I compete on value and capabilities. And I know our kits work. I know they work. I designed them to work, which is why there's still 161 people alive from using our kits. So my goal is to get you home again. And if there's any way I can help you with that, visit refugemedical.com. Use promo code BEARNATION. Gets you 10% off. I wish it could be more, but we're a small company and we don't have a lot of headroom in what we do because we guarantee our stuff forever and pay our American manufacturing personnel a living wage. Call the store, visit the website, use the contact us page, send us an email, use the chat function on the website that goes to real people. If there's any way we can serve you, we will. And check out the buckets, the bucket line at Refuge Medical. They are excellent preps. And with that, I hope you all have a wonderful day of prep, a wonderful day of rest, and I will see y'all when I see you.